recording thing. All right, welcome. It is November 25th, and it's 5:31 p.m. This is a meeting of a regular meeting of the Port of Olympia Commission, and I'm officially calling this meeting to order. I would like to announce that the commission did meet in a special executive session meeting held this afternoon at 4 p.m. We met to review the performance of a public employee and to consider the selection of a site for the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase. Both of those are in RCW 42.30.1101G and RCW 42.30.1101B. Our executive session lasted 75 minutes. We adjourned at 5:15, and there was no action taken or decisions made. So moving on to today's meeting, we've called to order. Commissioner Harding, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have
She raised her hand, but she didn't.
Oh, yeah, let me just make sure everybody knows that we do have a quorum here this evening. All commissioners are present. Commissioner Vasavada is not feeling well, so she's joining us online. And if she is going to make any kind of comments or additions to the conversation, she'll raise her hand, and hopefully you all help me look out for that hand raise. So.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the agenda and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving this evening's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So we have an agenda. So I promised I would not skip anything tonight. So let's go with the executive director report. Executive Director Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Commission President Eyal. All right, so this comes up. Okay. Aha, there we go. Okay. So first up, let's see, it was last week. Port staff, including Jesse Bensley, Kimberly Weber, Emily Gerton, Tabor Lee, and myself, had the honor of participating in a ribbon cutting ceremony for the grand opening of the first Spark Hotel by Hilton in Washington State. This is a testament to the vision, investment, and commitment of the local hotel owner, who's making a big difference by reinvigorating this space in Tumwater. A special thank you to the Thurston County Chamber for hosting the ceremony and for their participation. We always appreciate their partnership and commitment to our community. On the Port Peninsula Integrated Master Planning, we're still trying to go out and get folks' thoughts about the peninsula and the kinds of things they'd like to see there. So we partnered with Well 80 Restaurant last week to engage bingo attendees in our master planning survey. This allowed for a fun, enlivened evening and also gave participants a chance to participate in our survey. And a couple of lucky winners got to go home with some exclusive Port of Olympia swag. And also last week, we had the privilege of participating in the groundbreaking for the spot where the restored tugboat Parthia will take up residence. This project highlights the power of collaboration led by the South Sound Maritime Heritage Association, who partnered with Forma Construction, Thomas Architecture Studios, and many caring community members. Kudos especially to Chuck Fowler, who has been advocating for this for a very long time, and he's been building the necessary partnerships to see it all come to fruition. We also really appreciate Commissioner Ayal, Commissioner Vasavada, and Commissioner Harding for participating and pulling it around a golden shovel. And we really are looking forward to the project. It'll be a great asset to the Port Peninsula and enhance our market district while also celebrating our region's maritime history. And then, last but not least, we're heading towards Thanksgiving this coming week. I just want to take a moment to thank our port staff and all of you commissioners for all you're doing to help our port be successful. Your efforts are part of making an impact in our community, and we really appreciate all the sacrifices that you make to be port commissioners. And I really look forward to what we will continue to build at the port, and wishing you and all your families and everybody's families a joyful and restful Thanksgiving. And as always, we welcome your input. Here are the many ways in which you can engage with us, so please take advantage of those opportunities. And that is it for this evening.
Right. Thank you very much for that report. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? All right, hearing none, we'll move right along here. Move into public comment. Individual public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Members of the public may comment on agenda items and other port business. Guidelines for comment can be found in the commission rules in resolution 2022-09, article 6. Comments should be directed to the commission as a whole and should not include comments about individual port staff or members of the public. All speakers shall be courteous in language and demeanor and shall confine remarks to those facts that are germane and relevant to the question or issue under discussion. I don't have a list of anyone wanting to do public comment in the audience. Is there anyone on the Zoom?
Helen Wolfsburg has raised her hand.
All right, Ms. Wolfsburg, you have the floor.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Carla Wolfsburg. I live in Tumwater, and I don't see an opportunity for public comment on your agenda for the under G, pending issues of business. Number 2, the briefing of the airport master plan update. So I'd like to address that issue right now, and perhaps there is public comment, but I don't see it on your agenda. So first of all, I would just like to mention that this grant that the port has received to do this master planning update, which I understand I read on the website, was about $655,293, and that's 100% grant funded to facilitate the airport master plan update. But I'd just like to point out that we have learned from Mr. Hendrickson, well, at least back in 2023, that every time the port receives a grant from the FAA, there are direct obligations attached to that funding. And that also, of course, would include this master plan update funding. And one thing that we learned about this is that with that funding and with the FAA obligations, the Olympia Airport's required to accept any commercial aviation company that wants to build at the terminal and start a service here, assuming their planes fit with our runways. And I think this was back in 2023 at Mr. Hendrickson's open house that he held in January of 2023, that really neither the public nor the port commissioners would have any control because those obligations attached last for a period of 20 years. So this loss of control over the Olympia Airport continues to me to be a significant public concern, especially since commercial airplanes could potentially be flying to the Olympia Airport. And I think this concern resonates with other public airports as well. In fact, to my knowledge, at least one airport in California has decided not to accept future funding from the FAA so that they might at some point assume local control of their airport. And I would like to respectfully ask that this commission also consider this, that really you will not be in control of our airport with all of these grants that seem so delightful on the on one side because the public is not being charged for them, but they come with these obligations. And I think this should be addressed, and I hope it might be addressed in the presentation tonight, but I really wouldn't know because I haven't heard it yet. And also the last issue, and I'm really not sure about timing. But it just really quickly had to do with the public open house because the last one was in 2022. And I just wanted to ask, will there be another open public house about the airport master plan update? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfsberg. Is there anyone else like to make public comment?
Seeing any more raised hands at the moment?
All right, no public comment in the room here, so we will move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of professional services contract amendments presented by James Summer, Capital Assets Program Manager. There's the second item is a Cascade Pole Consultant Services contract. That was presented by Don Bakke, Cascade Pole Manager. The third item on the consent calendar is the WashDOT Aviation Lease Amendment number 1 approval, which was presented by Warren Hendrickson, Director of Operation. And the fourth item on the consent calendar is the minutes from November 18th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, opposed? Consent calendar is approved. Thank you. Next on the agenda, pending issues or business. First up is a briefing of the Port of Olympia Citizens Advisory Committee. An update from Joel Hanson, POCAC Chair. Thank you, Joel. You have the floor.
Thank you, commissioners. In an effort to make these exchanges between the POCAC and the commission more regular, we're getting on the agenda at least once a month, which is a great thing, and we're trying to establish that rhythm. Want to make sure that they're always relevant and that the information you get is timely. And so today, in that spirit, and also that they are necessarily brief, I will bring up or allow you to hear from the subcommittee chairs of 2 of our existing subcommittees, our Destination Waterfront subcommittee and our Bud Inlet Environmental Subcommittee, if that's the right name. But I'm going to cede my time to the chairs of those 2 subcommittees.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? I hope you're all doing well. One thing I wanted to bring up before I made a brief comment about the subcommittee I'm chair of is that we have a request in for some term extensions to POCAC. Some people's terms are expiring at the end of this year. And I want to just make you aware of that. I think Alex has got all the information there. So we hopefully that we could see that before the year end.
Great, thank you. Just for the record, could you please state your name and?
Oh, okay. I'm Quentin Phillips. I live in West Olympia on Wiley Street by Conger. The second thing I want to talk about, I am the chair of the Destination Waterfront Subcommittee, and Debbie Patton is here. She's also a member of that subcommittee, as well as Darlene McMurray. And we've been working on a work plan to develop some ideas about, what we might suggest for the integrated master plan, because we realize that master plan is going to be accountable for a lot of the things that are going to occur in the future. So we're going to be looking for input, to discuss this with the staff so we can understand a little bit better about, how we can interface with the consultants, as well as with the staff to see what type of information we might be able to exchange with them. I think that would be really helpful. The other thing would be to try to understand best about how the public maybe could have, more input. What I heard today was excellent, as far as trying to bring people into the discussion. And I think we just need to keep that in mind as we go forward. As far as our work plan goes, it's a work in progress. We don't have anything finalized on that. And we hope to have that sometime February, March timeframe. So thanks again. Thanks for the reminder, Bob.
Alex, do we have the term extensions on our calendar prior to the end of the year?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Bob Wabana. I'm the chair of the Bud Inlet Environmental Committee, subcommittee. I've been a part of the Olympia waterfront since 1981 and since the Olympia community since 1968. So, and I currently live out by Squaxin Park. So I'm very familiar with everything that goes on here at the port. Our committee is to assist the staff and you, the commissioners, in terms of taking a look at the issues of the reclamation of the waterfront and to help respond to some of the public interest, public questions, and public issues that keep coming up. And I just want to make a couple of key points. So when we ask the staff what our assignment is we need to, or what you're doing is addressing legacy pollution. Well, what's legacy? What we do yesterday is legacy tomorrow type of thing. So as we look at this issue of legacy pollution, many people in the community will say, well, the port commissioners didn't do a good job in the past. I worked as a regulatory agency for many years, and I worked for local governments for many years. And basically, we're wanting to remind the public in general that almost all of the decisions that were made that are on the Port Peninsula were decisions that were made in good faith. They were made with intent and basically the guidance of the land use planners, which City of Olympia, the port when they were in process in the county. Secondly, they were permitted by the regulatory agencies, ecology, fish and wildlife, and all the others. And thirdly, the development, who then came in with the approval of the land use agencies as well as the regulatory agencies, did a project that most people in the community thought was an economic opportunity to do something good. Some of them didn't turn out quite so good as legacy. And so what we believe is that the port has been doing a good job. The port needs to continue to do a good job. And our assignment as your subcommittee worker on the POCAC is to assist you in helping communicate with the public. And when we get the letters from the editor, from those people that that we get letters frequently from certain individuals in the community, often they're only half the truth, not all the truth. Half of them they're not really answering and helping solve problems. So we're looking at our assignment over the next period of time to work with you and your staff to basically be a good representative of the Port of Olympia. So some of you sitting up there remember Paul Harvey. Some of you don't remember Paul Harvey because you're too young.
Oh.
And on Saturday mornings, we always, my wife and I always look forward to Paul Harvey to share some wise advice to us. And he would always tell a story that wasn't always looking very good. But at the end, he would say, and now the rest of the story. So basically what we're going to work with you to tell the rest of the story, basically the story that basically good intentions, well intentions of the Olympia waterfront, the good things that could happen, did happen, and some things that didn't look so good in the past or in the future. We're going to help retell that story. And so basically, in summary, our assignment from you, basically as guided by your staff, is we want to have a welcoming, working waterfront, And that means welcoming of all different types of businesses, waterfront activities, things that the entire community hopes that the Port of Olympia will help provide. So that's our assignment. there's a group of us old people on this committee who have memories that won't shut up. And we are going to come forth in March, as we've been assigned, with a work plan that helps achieve what I just outlined for you. And it will be hopefully a very positive helping hand to the Port of Olympia to tell a good story and to help you, the commissioners, do a good job for the future of the Olympia waterfront. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob and Quentin and Joel and Debbie. All right, any questions or comments for the POCAC group? Yeah, thank you so much for your report and for the work you guys are doing. We appreciate it. Next up in the pending issues or business is airport master plan update. Chris Paolini, Airport Senior Manager. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, commissioners. As you mentioned, I'm Chris Paolini, the Airport Senior Manager, and I'll be giving a briefing this evening on the Airport Master Plan update. As it's a briefing, there'll be no action requested this evening. Our master plan update process was led by Aviation Planning Group, APG, and as mentioned earlier, it was 100% funded by an FAA grant. That's not normal. Normally it's a 90% grant, but this was during the pandemic era. And so the Congress approved 100% grant funding during that period of time. So I'll just kind of start out. We have some new commissioners and I just have to give a kind of a broad overview. What is a master plan update, an airport master plan update specifically? It's a comprehensive study of an airport that describes the short, medium, long-term, the 20-year development plans to meet future aviation demand. There's actually an advisory circular 150/5070-6B, which is the actual FAA advisory circular for the master planning process. And master plans are completed approximately every 10 years, give or take a few years, depending on where the airport's at and its and the needs for projects and so forth. It's a document that looks at the capital improvement projects and land use compatibility to meet the above objectives. It focuses on planning for long-term development potential. What it is not, it's not intended to solve an airport's management, operations, or maintenance issues. It's not a business plan or marketing plan. It's not a guarantee of funding. It's not a binding document, meaning even after it's adopted by the commission, changes can be made to the certain aspects of the plan, such as the airport layout plan, by what's called a pen and ink change after it's adopted. It's not a document that sets policies or rates, and it's not an engineering level document. I would like to talk a little bit about how an airport master plan is different than another airport, other master plannings, such as the Port Peninsula Master Plan, for example. As you know, the airport master plan is funded by normally they're 90% funded by the Aviation Administration, and they're to meet FAA standards. We have to meet FAA standards to justify that grant funding. FAA grants are funded by airport user fees, not by tax revenue. The FAA master plan process, as I mentioned, is directed by the advisory circular. And the link to that advisory circular is up there on the screen. This advisory circular for the master planning process references more than 90 other regulatory and guidance documents, and most of these must be complied with in the master planning process. Some of them not here at Olympia Regional Airport because some of them don't apply. Unlike other master planning processes seen at the port or other entities, the airport master plan process and goals are significantly guided by the Federal Aviation Administration as the regulatory and funding agency. So for example, with the Port Peninsula Master Plan, there's a lot more flexibility. There's a lot more availability for input on direction, whereas with the airports, we're strictly guided on how to meet future aviation demand and through those regulations. There is speaking on that involvement and process, there is a public involvement process with the master planning. It's actually an entire section in that advisory circular for addressing how to adequately meet the public involvement process. This is a good diagram. It's called the IAP2. It's from the International Association for Public Participation. It kind of shows the public involvement process generally for projects. I wanted to point out the differences between an FAA master plan and those other projects. Normally, you would see public involvement across all five of those steps: inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. And you can see there's two different levels: the public participation goal, and then the bottom one is promises to the public. The airport master planning process definitely involves the informing of the public and the consulting of the public, which is the ones in the peach color there. However, when you move into the involved section, we do involve the public in the process. However, we don't make promises to the public because we can't. Again, we're regulated by the FAA as far as what we can and cannot do with the airport and the direction to go. So while we do take comments from and feedback from the public, and we try to incorporate those in the decisions that we can within the lanes that we have flexibility in, we can't really make promises to the public because of the regulatory guidance on that. Further, so in addition to those other documents I just mentioned, there's also a total of 39 FAA grant assurances the airport must comply with. And I want to make sure I get to the right page here. So one of the public comments that happened during the process is there's a lot of concern about, commercial service and becoming the next SeaTac. And so I want to address that in two different ways. One, I want to point out grant assurance number 22A, which states an airport sponsor will make the airport available as an airport for public use on reasonable terms and without unjust discrimination to all types, kinds, and classes of aeronautical activities, including commercial aeronautical activities offering services to the public at the airport. So we are, under those grant assurances, obligated, should an air carrier or someone interested in providing commercial service here want to bring it here, we would be obligated to do that. However, I do want to point out two other things. One is there was some confusion in the early stages of the master planning process back in 21 and 22 that we were going to become a reliever airport for SeaTac. Part of that was some miscommunication. Our previous airport senior manager, who's obviously in the room because he's still very much part of the port, was the chairman, vice chair, then became the chairman, correct, of the Commercial Aviation Coordination Commission while serving as the airport senior manager here. And so there was some confusion about what was going to happen to Olympia Airport because he was filling those two roles. But the bottom line is the results of that the CAC, the Commercial Aviation Coordination Commission, was Olympia Airport was not going to be considered moving forward as a reliever airport for SeaTac. The other thing I want to point out, and I'll get into this in shortly, is that commercial service takes on all different shapes and sizes. A lot of times people think of commercial service as a 747 carrying 300 people to Europe, but commercial service could also be an electric air taxi taking people from Olympia to the other side of the state, or maybe taking people from Olympia up to SeaTac or down to, say, Portland International to catch flights as well. And that would be considered commercial service as well. So there's a pretty big spectrum on what commercial service can look like.
And Chris, as far as grant assurances, federal government provided much of this land for us for the support and purpose of running an airport, correct? So way back to its foundation, there's assurances that we made to the federal government.
Correct. Thank you for that. Yes, I was going to address that a little bit later, but no, I'll go ahead and address it now. So, so in addition to the grant assurances, which do lock us in for a 20-year period of time, we also are obligated to the FAA for land that was purchased. And so there's not just a clock that runs out. There's also those financial obligations as well. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. So in summary, how are FAA master plans different than other master plans? Yeah, as I stated, the FAA has designated the Olympia Regional Airport as part of the National Air Transportation System, known as the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems, or NIPIAS. We are one airport of over 2,000 other airports in the country that serve as that critical airspace transportation system. And so because of that, we have the privilege of being able to help not just with the other, not just the airports that are commercial service, but also general aviation as a whole. So we get to help serve in ways that are supporting the community, such as with emergency medevac helicopters and so forth. And we also provide a lot of jobs. In fact, there's a WashDOT aviation study that shows the economic impact that our airport actually provides to the community, which is available online, which shows just how significant we are for providing jobs and tax revenue and other things to the community. The airport master plan process is heavily guided by the FAA, as I mentioned, to ensure we comply with FAA regulations and take steps to support current and future aviation needs. So the guiding principles of an airport master plan are, as you see up there, it's to provide safety and security, economic vitality, transportation diversity, address community goals, principles, sustainability, environmental preservation, and cultural resource protection. Examples of projects that are eligible through the master plan process or as an outcome of the master plan process is runway, taxiway, and apron construction, rehabilitation to protect that infrastructure, lighting, signage, navigation aids, weather stations, planning and environmental such as this master plan, terminal development, and safety area improvements. That would be safety areas around the runways and taxiways to keep aviation safe. Examples of non-eligible projects would be a development that's for exclusive use for like an individual, industrial park development, landscaping, maintenance equipment, and airport vehicles. Although I would like to point out that the airport did get a electric vehicle grant that we are moving forward. We're in the purchasing stage, and that's pretty exciting for us. That was through a separate grant from a separate pool of funding. So normally you would not see FAA funding for airport vehicles. The goals of the master plan process is, as I said, to invite the public involvement. As I mentioned, there's an entire section in advisory circular addressing that. Evaluate environmental considerations, document existing conditions, activity, infrastructure, financial data, and so forth. Prepare for future development facility requirements, which will meet FAA design standards and future aviation demand. And those continue to change, by the way, as technology changes. So you always, that's why I said the master plan is not a fixed document. It can be changed after adoption. And then prepare for emerging aviation technologies such as electric and hydrogen aircraft, unleaded fuels, vertical and takeoff air taxi, and noise reduction technologies, and plan for and demonstrate airport financial self-sufficiency. I want to talk about the electric and hydrogen aircraft. I'm gonna wait till another slide because it's some pretty exciting stuff that's happening that I think we'll all get a little bit excited about if we're all honest, or maybe just some of us that like to geek. It's pretty. There's some just the technology and the way it's helping our communities. It's pretty incredible. So, but I do want to touch on the technical and community engagement process that we went through. This is kind of a paraphrase from the advisory circular. Airport owner and public participation is most crucial during the early phases of the master planning process so that ideas, concerns, and feedback can be considered during the alternatives analysis process before final decisions are made. Our technical and community involvement consisted of a technical advisory committee that met, open house meetings with the public, plus a Q&A with the airport manager, progress presentations to the Port Commission, as well as public feedback opportunities, which were and still are available via that email address that's also linked on our airport website through the Port of Olympia website. This was the technical advisory committee that met. You can see that it was a group of people from the airport, but also non-airport people from the community, different government entities locally, as well as say the Thurston Regional Planning Council, all bringing in their different perspectives and expertise to see how the airport can best serve its community. The technical advisory committee had 4 different meetings over the course of the early stages of the master planning process, and copies of these presentations can be found at the web address there on the screen. The community involvement included 4 different open houses. I would like to point out that the advisory circular does not specify a minimum number of public open houses. I will say, just from my personal experience, the last airport I came from, we had 1 online meeting and 1 in-person meeting, and that was it. So we had 2 compared to the 4 open houses here. So more than you see at other airports. And then there was a 5th meeting that I mentioned earlier in January of last year. It was a conversation with the airport manager. And that was I actually watched that in preparation for my interview for this job, actually. Hats off to Mr. Hendrickson, because it was 3 hours of just questions about the airport, commercial service, and it was actually a very educational meeting for the public and for me, actually. So I appreciated it. Additionally, there was additional updates made to the commission in 2022 and 2023. And copies again of these presentations and the recordings of these meetings can be found at that link, the link there. And if you go to the Port Olympia website, click on the airport and click on master plan, you can just scroll down and you click on that button. That'll take you to those videos. So what is the current status of the project? So this is what the airport master plan schedule looks like. It starts out with an inventory of current airport assets and facilities. It does an environmental overview, an aviation forecast, and facility requirements, alternatives, land use, financial feasibility, and then finally the airport layout plan, which is a lot of the technical drawings that incorporate the alternatives. And then after that's all done, it's adopted. We are right at the end of that process, right before the adoption. before I explain why it hasn't moved to the adoption stage, I do want to point out in this whole process, there's only 2 chapters of the master plan that actually get approved by the FAA. And that's the forecast. And that's because everything that we do after the forecast, as far as how we plan for the future to meet future aviation demand, is all based off of that forecast document. So the FAA has to approve what we think our future projected aviation demand here locally is. And once they approve that, then we start exploring all of the alternatives to meet that future demand. And then the FAA also approves the airport layout plan, which they approved in May of this year. And it's just pending signature at this stage. And that's, again, the incorporation of the preferred alternatives and all the projects that would to meet those future aviation needs. So the cause of the delay was twofold. It had to do with our habitat conservation plan, and also had to do with just the staffing limitations for that period of time. We had put the plan on hold because we had hopes that the habitat conservation plan would get far enough along that we could address some of our goals for development at the airport. Once the habitat conservation plan was vetted far enough in the staging process, we could go to the FAA and get those approvals that we need. Unfortunately, as we know, we haven't gotten that far with the HCP yet. And so we had to just make the decision to keep moving forward with the adoption of the airport master plan. These are the different chapters of the airport master plan. Again, you can see that chapter B and the airport layout plan are the ones that are completed with approval by the FAA already. The other ones are in their final draft. We're just doing some minor changes, and then we'll get those on the website shortly, and I'll address the timing of that. And then these are the appendices. Both of the appendices are also complete and ready, except for the public involvement piece, because as I'll mention shortly, that there's going to be one last 30-day public comment period. And that, of course, those comments will be incorporated into the final document that actually gets memorialized through the adoption process. So this is one of the easier to read drawings that diagrams that come out of the airport master planning process. Also, this is our preferred alternative. I'll go to the zoomed in picture. The other ones have a lot more lines and drawings that show airspace limitations and vertical clearance requirements and all that kind of stuff that make us feel like we have a reason for a job, because you have to understand how to interpret all that stuff. But this one kind of gives you that bigger overall picture. And what I want to point out on this particular slide is just that you'll see our footprint for the airport does not change in this master plan update. There are no plans to acquire more land. That was another one of the concerns from the public as far as making the airport bigger. And there are no plans to acquire more land to do that. This next slide is the one I'm pretty excited about. So this is emerging technologies. This is about electric vehicles, hydrogen powered aircraft, and then also unleaded fuels. And so on this is on the west side of the airfield where our old terminal is. This is somewhere some of our planning, the planning is for the future technology. You'll see the three the smaller black squares, the white dashed squares inside of them, those are electric vertical and takeoff, landing, or vertiports for the eVTOLs. And as I mentioned earlier about a possibility of electric air taxi, that would be a location for those to be able to operate safely to and from the airport. And then you see to the left, you see the silhouettes of some aircraft there. That would be a potential future commercial service area. And then just left of that, you see where it says hybrid electric parking aircraft, also potential hydrogen as well. And so that's showing that we have to plan for these. I just actually learned recently that the FAA has actually certified 2 electric air taxi aircraft already, which is pretty exciting. So this is not just on the horizon, it's here now. And so these are the kind of things that can help our community, because this is going to be something where you can use electric aircraft to take people, say from Olympia to Boeing Field or down to Portland or to the east side of the state, instead of those people driving combustion engine cars on the road. This could also be a place for smaller cargo operations, where as you may already know, Amazon is already in different places like the East Coast and a couple of states, and I know in Texas, using drones to deliver packages. This could be a place where we could get into that aspect with electric drones, again, taking delivery trucks off the roads. And so this is some pretty exciting stuff for us to be able to support our community in an environmentally friendly way. And so this is the kind of stuff I like it from the aspect it's awesome technology for aviation, but it's also awesome for our community as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. So next steps, what are our next steps? Well, as I mentioned, tonight I'm giving a briefing on the master plan update. January 13th, I'll come back to the commission and give an advisory presentation. And then leading up to January 13th, we're going to be trying to release one chapter a week of the draft final chapters. And then we'll start that 30-day public review period the week of the 13th. So they'll actually technically have more than 30 days to review some of the chapters, but at least a full 30 days. And then the members of the TAC committee that are still willing can do a final review of those documents as well. And then in February, we'll come back to the commission to give a final presentation with a public hearing, and then request the commission's resolution adopting the airport master plan into the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. And then after we have an adopted master plan in March or April, we'll start the SEPA checklist in support of the master plan update.
I just wanted to share with the new commissioners that previously there had been feedback that we were dumping too much information at once, which is why they're doing one chapter at a time, because giving people time to digest rather than putting this massive document out and only giving them 30 days. So I appreciate the responsiveness to the feedback.
And they are lengthy chapters, and they are technical chapters. And so it gives extra time to kind of digest that. There's some value for sure. Thank you for making that comment. So as I mentioned, the 30-day public review period will start approximately the week of January 13th. So they'll be available on the airport master plan website via that link. As was just shared, the purpose of that 30-day public review period is to give the public a final opportunity to submit comments, which will be memorialized in the actual adopted plan. I do want to make a note though, this is a different public comment interaction than what happened at the beginning of the master planning process, though. All of the steps that were taken to incorporate feedback have already taken place a couple of years ago. But we definitely want to take those comments and feedback and make sure that those are memorialized with the document. Then I also want to just touch on the commission's role as well in the master plan update process. So the commission's role is to view the master plan update as a living document, providing a series of recommendations based on the airport's infrastructure, inventory, forecast, and needs. Your role is also to review and approve each individual project before any master plan update projects are implemented. As a result, the commission can be assured they have oversight and influence in the direction of the airport. And of course, public involvement will occur during the NEPA-SEPA process for each project. And then as conditions and opportunities changed, commission can direct port staff in coordination with the FAA to update the master plan's airport layout plan documents. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, that it's not a locked-in document. There's flexibility to make changes as the reality changes as we move into the future. So again, with technologies and other design standards and so forth. And so I know I just threw a lot at you in a short period of time and maybe talked a little too fast, but if there's any questions or comments, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions or comments from the commission?
I just appreciate that you included a lot of links to said documents. And I think that will be really easy for people to be able to navigate to those specific issues and areas that people can look to answer questions if they have any. So I really appreciate your thorough presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Vasavita has her hand raised.
Oh, Commissioner Vasavita, go right ahead.
Thank you, President Niall. Chris, just checking, the master planning is just for the aviation related land at the airport and not for the other lands that have been deeded to us by the FAA to support the airport. Is that correct?
Correct. So those lands still have to follow FAA requirements as far as how we use those lands. But yes, the master plan focuses on inside defense.
Okay, thank you.
Full use.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, moving on to the action calendar. We have one item on the, thank you for coming, folks. We have one item on the action calendar. That is the 2025 budget and 2025 tax levy resolutions adoption. Tad Koff, Director of Finance. You, sir, have the floor.
Thank you, Commissioner Isle. Tad Koff, Director of Finance. This is our concluding budget and capital investment plan presentation and adoption presentation.
You didn't do a couple more presentations?
No, well, we've touched on this one a few times, I will say that. So we have added the numbers to the proposed regulation. Sorry, I'm a little tongue tied. I've spent last week in the dark. I was one of the windstorm victims, so a little out of it today. So we've got the two actual resolution numbers for the proposed adoption levies. One will be the budget and the capital budget, and then the other one will be for the tax levy. Today is a action requested meeting. Sorry about that. We have the capital budget. There are no additional changes since the last time that we went through that. And we add up with the court portion and the capital budget portion, which are either grant or other funds provided. We have the cash statutory budget, which is technically what is being adopted tonight. That is the main completely rolled up budget, beginning at 27.9 million and ending at 19.7 million. And the big interplay there is largely all the capital projects and things that are reported to be done for the year. These are the new slides that we introduced this year to look more at the cash-based side of things. This first slide again takes you through the rest of 2024. And then we have one that will take you through the proposed budget, which is 2025. So these are a different look. And what this does is it really gives you kind of a comprehensive place to see all the components in on one page. Going forward in the following year, we're going to be looking at also adding kind of like a 5-year look ahead where we can start to better tie the budgeting process into master planning and other aspects of court administration. We have the FTE, final FTE number settled on for the new year 2025 with 55 FTEs budgeted for 25 over 51.33 for 24. And then we land on the tax levy slide. And I do apologize for how long it took to get this propagated. I did actually go over to the assessor's office in person last week and sat and got an appointment to get the final numbers for this. So they are final. My understanding from what I was told is there was a retirement home in Thurston County that had multiple years where they had changed their status to being not profit and they had to recalculate, and it was a fairly large hit apparently for the county. So our administrative tax refund amount that I said would be smaller is 113,000, which is much larger than anticipated. So where we started out with the variety of numbers on here at the beginning of my first presentation is very similar to where we actually ended up with the proposed tax levy coming in at just over $8 million. And that brings us to the sample motions to adopt the two resolutions, resolution 2024-10 to 2024-09. At this point, I will not motion or move anything, but I will be quietly standing.
That would be bold of you.
That would be bold, and being elected to nothing, that would be improper.
Are there any questions that anybody would like to ask before we? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve or to move to adopt resolution 2024-10, a resolution to adopt the levy amount for 2025, which is a 4.01% increase over 2024.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2024-10, a resolution to adopt the tax levy amount for 2025, which is a 4.01% increase over 2024. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Thank you for your efforts, Tad and Tricia. We recognize that you guys are still new to the port and you're rebuilding systems and you're rebuilding our budgeting process.
And it's never an easy process, no matter what, but with all of those things, it makes it even more challenging. So thank you for getting us here and thanks for sitting in the office and getting our correct number.
Well, I certainly appreciate it.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote on the motion to adopt resolution 2024-10, a resolution to adopt the levy amount for 2025, which is a 4.01% increase over 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? No opposed, so the motion carries.
Move to approve resolution 2024-09, a resolution of the Port of Olympia Commission authorizing, providing for acceptance, approval, and adoption of the final 2025 annual operating budget, including annual user rates and fees and capital investment plan pursuant to RCW 5335.04.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. So I guess these numbers we got right, because we approved 10 before we approved 9. Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve a resolution 2024-09, a resolution of the Port of Olympia Commission authorizing, providing for acceptance, approval, and adoption of the final 2025 annual operating budget, including annual user rates, fees, and capital investment plan pursuant to RCW 53.35.045. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? No opposed, so the motion carries. We have a budget. Thank you very much, Tad.
Thank you to
Work.
commissioners on your input on this. It will be a smoother procedure next year. That's it for me.
Careful what you promise. Tad. All right, thank you very much. Moving on, we have no items under action other. Moving on, so we move on to the advisory calendar. We have one item, which is the Marine Terminal Warehouse Purchase Contract. James Summers, Capital Asset Program Manager. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Marine Terminal Warehouse B structure contract. And that is contract 2024-1043. And I'm your Capital Assets Program Manager, James Summer. So today's presentation is advisory only. There is no action requested. We're going to talk about the procurement process, some details about the warehouse itself, the ClearSpan quote for the warehouse, and then the next steps for this project. So a little bit about the procurement process for this. The Port of Olympia is a member of a service cooperative named Sourcewell. If you haven't heard of it, it is a service cooperative created by the Minnesota legislature. It's a unit of local government, and they competitively solicit contracts nationwide and then allow their members to utilize those contracts. Think of it similar to the DES statewide contracts. Does a similar? We are authorized to use this power under Washington Revised Code 39.34.030. So they went out for a competitive request for proposal for engineered fabric buildings. It was RFP 071223. They had many submissions, but ultimately they ended with a contract with ClearSpan, who I'll talk about in a little bit here. And that is contract number 071223-CSS. A link to that contract in its entirety, which includes the request for proposal process, was provided in the cover memo tonight. So in case you want to look more into that. And then a advantage to using the Sourcewell contract is that ClearSpan through Sourcewell actually offers their largest discount off of manufacturer's suggested retail price. So not only do we get to use that solicited contract, but it actually gives us a discount. So on to the actual details of the warehouse. The picture down to the bottom left you've seen before. Some of you have seen before. It is a representation of what the warehouse will look like. It is not the exact warehouse. We're looking at a structure that is 150 feet long by 150 foot wide by 460 foot long. It is fully enclosed. It will have a steel I-beam frame, and then on top of that, it'll have a 7-layer 29-ounce fabric cover, which will be tensioned down. Part of this contract does include all the doors and openings, so the man doors for personnel as well as the large cargo doors. And then we have opted also to include the lighting system, which would be a high-efficiency LED fixtures. So as the structure is being constructed, they will also hang the fixtures at that time. A little bit more detail about the frame. So as I mentioned, it is a steel I-beam frame. Some advantages to this, or I should back up. It is called an I-beam frame because if you take a cross-sectional view of this, it is in the shape of an eye. Some advantages to an I-beam construction is the strength of it allows to not have columns such as we have in this room, which allows us to have more storage in the facility. The I-beam and the purlins and the secondary framing is all made from grade 55 steel. It comes with a corrosion and chemically resistant paint, so it does not have a lot of maintenance and upkeep. It does allow for some quick construction timelines. These will be engineered off-site and built, and then they are shipped to the port where they will be put together. As I mentioned about the usable space, but also it has the industry-leading 50-year warranty, which is great for the port. The second part I want to talk about is the fabric cover. So as I mentioned, it is a 29-ounce architectural vinyl fabric that goes over the I-beam frame. The picture on the right there just shows the 7-layer construction of the material itself. It is not a single ply, it is a 7-layer. It comes with a 30-year warranty. Apologize for the typo there. And it was tested with a pull test. So essentially they take clamps, they clamp onto both ends of the fabric and they pull it until they destroy it. And it came in at 549 pounds per inch of tensile strength. If that doesn't mean anything to you, I included the picture on the left just to show this is not your standard everyday fabric. And as such, they prove by hoisting a truck. So I'll include that there. So a little bit about the scope of work for this contract. As I mentioned, it is through Clearspan. And the next slide will get into the quote, but it'll start with engineering drawings. So once this contract, or if this contract is approved, their engineers will start to manufacture this or start to engineer this to our specifications. They will also coordinate with our port contracted civil engineer to make sure that we can design a foundation for this structure. They will then manufacture the product and then they will ship it and begin installation. So this next slide is the actual quote. I won't go through these line by line, but it breaks it out from the structure, the building installation, the drawings, all of the different components of it. And the total quote comes out at $1,590,608.31. A couple of notes about this. Line item 12, the estimated freight charge. We won't know the exact freight charge until it is manufactured, packaged, and weighed and ready to go. But based on similar projects, they can give us a pretty close approximation. The other item that you won't see on here is the anchor hardware. Until we do the engineering and know exactly where all those anchor points will be, we won't know exactly how many we need. But again, based on similar projects, it's about $7,500 should we decide to have them provide those anchors. So I also wanted to mention the relation to this and compared to the $1 million budget amendment that just passed. So the $1 million budget amendment is really to allow us to begin on the engineering. This contract will be paid for out of the 2025 capital budget, but by getting approval of this contract, which is just a step in the process, it allows us to begin that site civil design. We can't design the foundation and all of the work around it until we know what structure it is. So it was important for us to bring this to you to let you know the plans and then get approval to move forward. The second note that I wanted to bring to you is that because of the dollar amount, we also bring this before you because of the port policy. So the next steps for this, we will bring this cut back before you the ClearSpan contract in December. If that moves forward, we will begin the design work, the site civil design work. Once that design is done and we have an estimate, we will then put that out to competitively bid. We'll get bids back. We will then bring those bids for award back to the commission, let you know what the bids came in at, and then ask for approval to move forward with that contract. Once we've completed the site preparation and got all the civil work done, the warehouse will then come in and be constructed. And then because of the overall capital project total dollar value, we will also bring that back to you for approval once the entire project has closed out. So at this point, I would ask for any questions or comments.
Anything from the commission?
I don't see it listed on this one, but on the invoice that you had in the original packet, there was one line that was a, no, it wasn't this, it was the actual invoice, but there was one line about the installation fee and that we could save about $100,000 if we don't start installing until January. Are we, when is the installation due?
Yes, thank you for that reminder. We are looking to install sometime in the late Q1, more than likely Q2 timeframe. So yes, we will not be incurring that 20% extra fee. It was all the way through December, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So if we could just start in January, save us 20% though.
Yeah, and since we have to do all the site civil work first, yeah, it'll be Q2 probably at the earliest. So,
thank you, James.
And have we started on permitting?
we have not started permitting. That will take place. We have started conversations with the city to understand the permitting requirements, but we can't start the permitting process until we really start the design.
Similar within environmental evaluations, I know.
Absolutely.
Same rates, but important to us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if there is any public comment on this advisory item. Anyone on Zoom like to make public comment?
Any raised hands at the moment?
All right, thank you, James. Appreciate that. Let's move on then to commissioner reports and discussion. I'm going to presume that Commissioner Vasavita would like to save her voice, but I'll give raise your hand if you want to say anything. Commissioner Harding, would you like to start?
Sure.
Do you have anything?
Well, it's Thanksgiving week, my favorite holiday. So I just I have a practice of gratitude. A number of things that I do, but I just really think it makes all the difference. And a holiday celebrating that also includes just eating and hanging out with the people that you love. So my quote of the day is from John Milton. Gratitude bestows reverence, changing forever how we experience the world.
Right, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Tong, have anything for this evening?
I will say I'm grateful to be here. You know, I feel very honored to be a commissioner. This is my first year here, and I just wanted to invite the public who may be watching, listening, or watching this later, my committee assignments, anyone out there, just to provide feedback, review me. I'd love to hear anything you have to share. I'm always open for other public comments. My email's on the website.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sanders, anything to share this evening?
I'm just really grateful and thankful for the amazing team that we have here, as well as our commissioners, and giving thanks for, you know, sharing time with our families this week. So that's about all I have.
Well, I am also grateful. And I did actually think about this today, and you know, I think we're coming to the end of November, which is Native American Heritage Month, and you know, I think it's worthwhile to end the month with expressing my gratitude. Not only because I'm a native, I'm a member of the Nisqually Indian tribe, but because of our fellow Commissioner Sanders being a member of the Makah tribe, I'm just really proud of this commission and how we work together. And so my gratitude is expressed to the entire commission and to the port staff, because, you know, we've made a commitment to fostering collaborative and inclusive work. And I think that we all realize that our working together is going to help us accomplish our shared goals and success. And so I just wanted to express that. And, you know, I think it's also important to note that, you know, tribal communities we're deeply invested in economic growth and creating opportunity and building wealth for our future generations. And the port's values and our communities align very well in those endeavors. And you know, I think we can learn a lesson from what we're doing here at the port, how we can balance economic development opportunities and still maintain our stewardship on the environmental front. So it's just expressing my gratitude this evening for this commission and the port staff. I think everybody does an outstanding job, and I'm honored to be a part. So with that, we can move right along and move into other business. Is there any other business this evening?
One thing, as staff is preparing for January when we do committee assignments, and I mentioned this before, but I want to mention it again. Experience Olympia and Beyond has really expressed an interest in having staff level representation rather than commission level. I think that could be the case with some of the other committees we serve on that we may want to at least consider. Some of them have to be elected officials and it is appropriate, such as Thurston Regional Planning. But what Experience Olympia and Beyond has experienced is it doesn't provide continuity because the commissioners are always turning over. And as you all know, you're embedded in the work. So there needs to be good communication with the commission. There needs to be cooperation, but looking at the committee assignments with the lens of potentially removing some of them from the commission, and at least having a discussion with the commission. And I think one of the things that the city of Olympia has been looking into is how to reduce the workload for council members, so that more people are able to serve. Being an elected official's a privilege, and it also takes an immense amount of time. And so sometimes the people that are able to do that are more homogenous. And if we want to increase diversity and if we want to have access for more people, tailoring the duties of a commissioner so that it is a manageable workload is something I think we should all be thinking about. So when we're looking at our goals, I put that seed.
Thank you. Is there any other business this evening? In that case, we will move on to meeting announcements. Executive Director Smith.
All right. So our next regular commission meeting will be on December 9th. It is the only regular commission meeting in December. We all get a break for the second half of the month. So following that will be a meeting on Monday, January 13th. And again, all the commission meetings are in this room at Percival Plaza. And then our next work session will be on a Tuesday, January 21st. Actually, we may do a special one to talk a little bit more about master planning with the commission, but we will notice that appropriately. But aside from that, the next planned one is on January 21st, 2025. It will be on a Tuesday because of a holiday the preceding day. Again, those are at 3:30 p.m. here in our commission meeting room. And on it's Tuesday, January 21st, we also have a Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. And it looks like Commissioner Savada has raised her hand.
Thank you, Director Smith. Just flagging that it looks like the port has published that there will be a marina open house.
I believe we're trying to do that. I have not connected with the staff on that one yet.
My website is showing it as December 3rd. So if that's the case, a town hall December 3rd, we should probably flag that right now as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. That's a great point. It's on December 3rd and it is essentially a town hall / open house with Damian Egan, who is our new senior manager for Swantown Marina and Boatworks, and folks wanted to get a chance to know him. So that will be December 3rd.
What time? What time on December?
Sometime 5:37.
5:30 to 7
At the marina or here?
Here.
here in, yeah, the Olympics.
All right, very good. Any other questions or comments on the meeting announcements?
And there is a staff appreciation on December 5th, correct?
On December 5th, yes, on December 5th, I believe it starts at 4 p.m.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, this meeting is officially adjourned.